Hi, friends, and welcome back to our Course in Miracles group this week. I'm so glad to have you. I'm a floating head this week, so I'm trying to figure out different places that I want to be where it looks better, the lighting looks better, you know what I mean? And in here, the lighting is a little bit brighter, so I thought I'd give it a try in here. And the background's not horrible. I probably need to fix it up a little bit. That's my indoor growing space that I use, and it's just not in production right now. It will be very soon because I'm going to start putting my plants that I'll need to put in the fall. So like the tomatoes, the eggplants, and the peppers, stuff like that. I'm going to start working on those, and I'll get them in there in the fall. But currently, it's just a stacking place with some lovely plants. Look at my beautiful orchid back there. Can you see it? You probably can't see it. And then also, I want to bring it up so you can see it because it's so pretty. Look, I grew this. You see what I grew? It's an orchid, and it flowers so nice. So that grew inside. And then this one's doing really well too. Look at this one. This thing's got huge, and then this is, pretty stuff too. So, it has a flower. Look, you guys, I've never seen it flower before. Oh, sweetheart, you have a flower. I'm so proud of you. So those are back there, and then over in that other basket over there on the other side is a bunch of my drying onions that need to dry. So while you're here, if you would, please just jump on and say hi. That way, because one of the things that I want to make sure is that we all feel very comfortable with who we're hanging out with on here today. And so we all know, we can join in the conversation together and we can safely talk about the things that we all need to talk about. And so it's nice to be able to just drop a hello. That's it. You don't have to interact any more than that. Hey, Jeffrey, I'm so glad you're here, sir. It's good to see you. So this day, the way we do things is I go into talking about the week as we've studied the Course in Miracles. But it gives us a chance to safely just talk out some of the things that we've faced during the week and see what comes from that. And the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to talk about the podcast. You guys know that I do the podcast. It's called Dinner Table Talks. If you haven't seen it yet, it's you can go to dinnertabletalks.com, and it's really easy to find it on any podcast platform that you listen to. But you can also find it on YouTube. And if you're here watching me on YouTube, you'll just be able to find it on YouTube. It's one of my others in my channel. If you're here on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you can get all of the updates of lives I do in the garden, podcasts, all of that kind of stuff. But in the meantime, today we're talking about kind of our spiritual connection. We're doing mind, body, spirit. And if we're doing mind, body, spirit, then this is a part that we need to hit, and that is our spirit. Of course, it's the most important part, is the way I feel about it at this point and everything. So this week on the podcast, my friend Tim Tate was on. He's a licensed professional counselor. And at the beginning of the podcast, he did a grounding exercise. And I thought to myself, right before the podcast, before I was about to go live, I thought, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go ahead and do the grounding exercise now before the podcast starts so that I can ground in and because he talks about how it's an opportunity to kind of get yourself, in the space where you align most, and you can ground in and then go into like a public speaking engagement or whatever you need to do to get yourself grounded in. And so I thought, instead of doing it before we go live right now, that we would do it together live right now. So the way he taught me to do it, if you haven't listened to the podcast already, then you don't know the directions. I'm going to give them to you. But otherwise you'll hear it there. Put your hands on your knees so that you can actually, ground into, and put your feet on the ground, and you're going to actually ground in, okay? And it's okay to close your eyes. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a deep breath in, and we're going to hold it we're going to breathe in for 4 seconds, and then we're going to hold it for 4 seconds, and then we're going to release it for 8 seconds. And we're going to do that 3 times. And what that's going to do is that's going to bring us all together here in the live. And even on the replay, if you're here with me on the replay and you're not catching it live right now, then you're going to get the exact same experience of grounding in, and we're grounding in here together. Okay, so let's go ahead, feet on the ground, Sit with your spine erect if you can, and your hands on your knees, and let's take a deep breath in together. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to hold it for 4, and then we're going to release for 8 seconds. We're going to go ahead and release that as far as we can. Hold for 4 seconds. Release. Try to get that count of 8. One more time. Inhale 4. Hold. Release. Now, what Tim taught us is that what that does is it brings us into our core. It brings us back into our center place. It brings us back into, as my friend Rev Share says, into our glow spot, into our love spot. Anytime you're anywhere, you can do this type of thing. I think that sometimes when I have that extremely empathic nature, and sometimes have been in the past afraid to go to the grocery store, right? And so I have begun doing more of that grounding and centering into that love inside my heart or inside my sanctuary, inside my body, right? And when I do that, I express love to other people. And when I express love to other people, then all I get back in return is love. And so it changes the dynamics of the people around you. And as an empathic person, that's what I really need to be able to do, is to shift the energy around me and to not absorb energy that's not willing to be shifted. It's not my job to shift all of the energy, but it's also not my responsibility to absorb all of the energy that is there to be received every single time. So it's been a big week of lots of different things that I've been learning about. I had the conversation on the podcast about trauma. And then again last night in our recovery group. For those of you that don't know, I go to a recovery group on Sunday evenings. It's called Recovery Dharma. It's based on the Buddhist religion. It's not really based on religion practices, but it's based on the Buddhist principles. And it's really about renunciation and recovery from addiction. And in those groups, we have opportunities to really express, and there's a lot, and in those groups, there's a lot of like feelings. There's a lot of anxiety. And yesterday, I really had a moment of lifting and releasing of trauma. I really, broke down and kind of let a lot of stuff out. And I wasn't intending on doing that, but I also couldn't hold it back. And that's one of the things that I've been learning a lot about with the way things are going these days, is it's not my responsibility to hold it back any more than it's my responsibility to be as a victim out there expressing a lot of it. And so I have been willing to face things recently that I maybe wasn't willing to face before. But I also have begun learning some of these techniques, like the grounding technique, like just talking things out with my friends, going to the recovery group and knowing that I'm in a safe space there to talk about the pain that I'm feeling. The thing that I've learned, and we talk about a lot in the recovery group, is the idea that it's not about releasing addictions. It's about finding our healing in this world, right? Finding our healing right now. But also at the same token, I posted a post today that talked about forgiveness, which is like, and this is what the Course talks about, that forgiveness itself isn't even required if you understand that you are already whole and you are already healed. That forgiveness is a part of the learning. We've learned over the past months of studying the Course that our body is a communication tool, that Holy Spirit is the higher mind that's always available for us, even when we make a perceived mistake or a perceived error. What we learn is that the Holy Spirit is always there to translate that into good. So no matter what we've done, it's able to be translated. And we've learned that our body and our mind have these abilities to help us communicate. And so while we're learning, and they're learning devices, that's the word I was really wanting to come to. They're learning devices, right? So they're here for us to learn from. So forgiveness is just a learning device that isn't required once we've healed. Once we've healed, you don't need to forgive something that never happened to begin with, right? And so The forgiveness is the healing process. And so that's the first step that you take. And the forgiveness isn't for the other person. You're not giving somebody forgiveness. You're giving you and yourself, you and them, the reflection of you, healing. You're giving healing. And one of the things that I've recently learned with all of the different facing of the post-traumatic stress disorder things I've dealt with, and facing this recent breakup and the heartbreak that came with this, is the idea that I am a witness to healing. I have a lot of experience with healing and resilience and stepping through and recognizing the bridge that has been created, the bridge between an old world and rebirth, a bridge between the life before Christ and the life of the rebirth or the resurrection that comes after, right? And there's a bridge between the two where you don't exactly know where you are, and you are looking for hands on both sides, and you have to make a choice. You do have to make a choice. And these are the types of things that the Course is repeatedly explaining to us. And we're in a chapter. The chapter this month that we've been studying is called The Transition. And so it's basically teaching us that there's a transition period. There's a transition period where at first you just start hearing stuff where you're just like, none of this makes any sense to me. And how's that even possible? And you might even close the book and put it away for 10 years, which is kind of what I did. But then you get to a different phase where you open the book and you begin to receive and accept. And I think that sometimes it takes years even, like you might read the book several years. I read the book several years before I even went to the lessons of the book. And even now, this is the second year of lessons that I've studied, to where I'm looking at the transition and beginning to have a better understanding of what it means to be on the bridge. And I have said over the past few years, at the beginning of 2020, when the 2020 pandemic started occurring, I had begun to recognize that there was something about me that, and the terms I was using was like, I'm on a bridge. I actually came across a term called a void walker, that there's just certain people that are in this place of transition, and they stay in this place of transition because they have the ability to be resilient, and they have the energy to stay in this place of transition. And in that place of transition, they have to be forgiving, because they understand that forgiving is the healing process. But they also know that that forgiveness isn't required. And in the middle of that is where they stand, able to witness to healing. And that's what I've come to at this point in my life. And I've begun to finally understand all of the things, the gardening, the doula work that I've done, all of the things that I have done over the years. They weren't about the individual purposes, the growing vegetables or teaching people about diets or advocating for local food or fighting with local policies, running for office. They weren't about the worldly things. What they were instead about was me and the experiences I've had, for that matter, the physical experiences, the experiences that I've had with the insurance companies and medical field and attorneys and all of the things that have occurred in the world that we're all facing in this like conflict era of our lives. That because I've had all of these extremely big and traumatic events, more than the average person has dealt with, a huge, massive breakup with a special relationship. Special relationship is a term that is taught in the Course in Miracles, and so we will get to that, where we'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But all of these traumatic breakup, challenges, adversities, suffering, as they talk about in the Recovery Dharma, all of these situations. But yet what I've learned is that I have the strength to get through these things. And I have the ability then to witness to healing. The idea that we can heal ourselves. And so I think that what I've found personally is that we, as a consciousness, as all the consciousness that exists, as consciousness that's choosing one direction of lightness as and community service or service to community, and one consciousness that is choosing to be in the shadow state and choosing to stay out of the light and choosing self-serve rather than service to community. That while we're doing that, we're separating as consciousnesses. And as we separate, there's a bridge or a void between the two. And it creates a situation where we then have the ability to reach our hands out to people. And just, we talked about recovery last night. When you're offering help to someone that's wanting to choose to leave addiction, are they offering to reach their hand back? And if they're not offering to reach their hand back, then they're not ready for that. And it's not to say that if someone chooses self-service in darkness or the shadow state, that they'll be there forever. That's not real. That's not the real way that it could ever be. But the fact of the matter is that in perception, you can choose right or wrong. You can choose love or hate. You can choose fear or joy. You have choices. That's what perception and life is about. That's where suffering comes from, is that we have these choices to make. And we're going to be in these places of suffering and reaching for our addictions, even the addictions to the world, for as long as we're willing to be there. But at some point, we get to a place where we can no longer be there anymore. And I believe that in 2020, my heart was opened so wide and so ready, and I'd been so prepared that I had some keys that unlocked in me. I unlocked some doors. And when I did that, it sent me down a path that got me prepared to be this transitionary bridge walker, void walker, someone that can be here in the middle and that can offer healing when it is wanted, when it is desired. But I can't offer healing by saying, oh, here, this is what you need to know. And if you don't do it my way, then you're not going to be able to get the healing, or you're going to go to hell because you didn't do it my way, or you're going to get sick because you didn't do it my way, yada, yada. It has nothing to do with that. All it has to do is witnessing. And I talked about this on the podcast. Sharing, right? Not sharing from oh, here I am on the stage. I have this ego in me that says, I need everyone to know what I'm wearing. I need everyone to know where I'm going. I need to know everyone to know that I'm dancing tonight. No, rather what it is I want to share the experience with myself, which means I want to share the experience with you. If the food that I'm eating smells divine and the picture tells 1,000 words, I want you to smell the food that I'm eating. If the flower on the cactus smells delicious, I want you to smell the cactus. I want to share that with you. And what I can do then is share my healing experience with you. But it also means I share my trauma with you. I share my fears with you. I authentically am sharing what's occurring in my life in order to give you witness to the healing that I am experiencing. And the healing that I have experienced with a lifetime, 44 years of different types of suffering and different types of traumatic experiences, what I've learned is you can heal yourself. What I've learned with this autoimmune protocol diet and with my autoimmune disorders is that I can heal myself. I can show you pictures of myself from 2019 where my stress was out of control, my health was out of control, everything was out of control, and I look sick. Everything about me looks sick compared to when I go out into the community now. My body is strong, my face is clear, my eyes are bright, and I have that glow inside of me because I'm not afraid of my empathic, highly sensitive person isn't afraid of every anxiety that's going to set me off. Rather, instead, I center myself in the sanctuary of the altar that's inside of me that is God's glow, and then I have the ability to express that out. So that's what comes out of me, mind, body, spirit. That's what comes out of my mouth when I talk to people, is this mind, body, spirit. I've found my ability to be the strength that I've been called to be, that I have been asked as my purpose, as a part of the will that God has for me, that I have for myself. It's God's will to be this person that has this ability to help share my healing so that other people can feel that same experience. And when they're ready, when they reach out their hand, my hand is there to clasp it, because I know that they are as I am. And when I lift them out, I lift me out. And so I'm not giving anything I don't have to give. I'm not giving energy I don't have to give. I'm not giving anything I don't have. I'm only giving what I can receive. That's all I'm giving. I'm giving you what I have to receive, what I can receive. And so there's a lot of that that's been going on, I think, in the larger consciousness ether. I think in the groups that I'm meeting with, there's a lot of, we're now referring to our network as the mycelium network. It's like we create these powerful bonds, and then we spread out to the community, and we reach our hands out to bring other people in. And not all of us have the ability to hold that space. Some of us have completely different jobs, but and some have the ability to hold up the healers. Let us hold with our strength, because I can help heal the healers. I can be a part of that method for the healing community, that the healers have that ability. Calling myself a healer, oh man, that's a breakthrough, right? Because when I first began to hear those terms, like spoken into my ear from the Holy Spirit, I was like, no, I don't do that. That's not what I grow vegetables. And yes, I like to have healthy body, whatever. But this is a different way, and what it is just simply sharing all of this stuff that we have to share so that others have the opportunity. This group is a great chance for me to not only speak, no, let's put it this way. This is a great chance for me to speak to myself, because at the end of the day, that is all that matters, is I'm speaking to myself. And when someone else hears themselves in me speaking, then they are willing in themselves to find their way home, to find their way back to heaven. And the idea is that we don't have to stay in heaven and the kingdom all the time if what we know our job or our purpose is to be here in waiting and sharing and to be a part of it. So even as people talk about wanting to go, and I'm ready to be there, and I want to be over there, and I don't want to be here, and sometimes I get it, like in my healing processes that I'm dealing with, I'm processing the idea, why am I here? Why do I want to be here? What's the point? And then I have these moments where I recognize what the point is that we're here to figure this out with God, for God, in an experience that God is having in the version of Aislinn that exists on the planet. And so this has been just such a great opportunity over the last few weeks. And I'll tell you, I want to be very clear and authentic. It hasn't been easy. I opened my mouth to speak to a brand new person this morning to explain to them some of the things that I was talking to someone else about. And the moment I opened my mouth and said a heartbreaking breakup, I just broke down in tears and started crying. I did the same thing yesterday in the recovery group. I broke down and started crying. So I'm not trying to say to you here that I'm not feeling pain and that I'm not facing in this time of grief a sense of real pain, real loss, real lacking. That's real. So that's that between the two, the transitionary period. And that's what we're going to talk about specifically today, is between the two, how do I process what's happening with all that is going on? So the part that we read about today was called The Little Hindrance. And the little hindrance can, and this is, okay, let me show you where we are. We're on page 549 in my book. It might be a little bit different in other people's book, but in my book, it's 549. It's chapter 26, The Little Hindrance is where we are, okay? A little hindrance can seem large indeed to those who do not understand that miracles are all the same. There's no levels of miracles. It doesn't matter whether you bring somebody back to life or whether you magically have just enough quarters to hand to a homeless person as they walk by. All the miracles are the same. It doesn't matter what level they are. Yet teaching that is what the course is for. This is its only purpose, for only that is all there is to learn, and you can learn it in many different ways. All learning is a help or a hindrance to the gate of heaven. So this is what I was just talking about. All of the things that we're going through, like even allowing those tears, allowing that pain, allowing myself to feel that and to face it and to be authentic, just as authentic about that, is just as much of a miracle as any of the joy of knowing that all of the gifts that could have ever been asked for are available to me in the kingdom and right through the gates of heaven. Nothing in between is possible. So here we are. We're talking about the bridge. We're talking about the transition. And what he's saying is that while we perceive in between, the in between's not real. So it's okay to be in the in between with the knowledge that the in between isn't real. There are two teachers only who point in different directions, and you will go along the way your chosen teacher leads. And right now they're talking about the two different ways that the teachers are leading is. One is leading towards self-service, the ego, and one is leading towards whole service, the community, the Christ consciousness, the all that ever was, the non-separation. So one is teaching individual separate egos, selves, and one is teaching whole, all united. And you will go along the way your chosen teacher leads. There are but two directions you can take, while time remains and choice is meaningful. For never will another road be made except the way to heaven. So basically it's saying that while you might choose to follow self-service, while you might choose that, it's not real. It's just an experience. The only real experience is the experience of wholeness, that we always were, God, and that heaven is available to us at any moment in time when we choose to be in it or about it. We cannot choose whether to go toward heaven or away to nowhere. We can't make that choice. There is nothing else. There's nothing there to actually choose. It's not a real choice. Nothing is ever lost but time. So what it's saying is, in perception, that the only thing that's going to be lost is time, right? So I woke up this morning, I wrote in my journal, like, today is the anniversary of the marriage, my divorce. So 24 years ago, I got married, but I also got divorced, and I also have been in another relationship since then. So I thought to myself, man, that's a lot of time. But I also thought to myself yesterday when I was listening to an 101-year-old woman speak about all the different things that she'd done and how she'd had a huge traumatic mental breakthrough whenever she was in her 40s, like early 40s, just like I am. And that everything, like the number of things that had occurred after that, right? So the idea of time is all irrelevant or relevant as you look at it. And so what the Course is saying is, when you're looking at those two things, the two things on the bridge, the only thing that can be lost is time. But then it's going to go on to say, which in the end is meaningless, right? So time isn't real. But yet, in perception, we perceive that we have the ability to lose time 44 years, or lost 24 years, or at 40 years, I finally became what I actually wanted to become for 40 years. For it is but a little hindrance to eternity, quite meaningless to the real teacher of the world. Yet since you do believe in it, why should you waste it going nowhere, when it can be used to reach a goal as high as learning can achieve? This is the idea that the higher mind, higher power, Holy Spirit has the ability to take even what you can perceive as time lost and turn it into something that can benefit you. It is a teaching device. Time and space were a gift given to us by God. And the reason God gave us that gift is because we needed to be able to learn how to handle what was occurring, and we needed time to be able to do it. And so time is actually a gift, just like our body is a gift. Now, the ego uses our body and time and space to separate us from God. But rather, the Holy Spirit says, nah, I can turn anything into love. I can turn anything into light. And I will use anything that you've done to teach you what you want to learn. Think not the way to heaven's gate is difficult at all. Nothing you undertake with certain purpose and high resolve and happy confidence. I love that. Certain purpose I want to write these words down because I think these are really good ones. Certain purpose, high resolve, and happy confidence. That's 100% who I am right now. That is a perfect definition of how I'm handling what's going on right now. Certain purpose, high resolve, and happy confidence. That's how I'm healing. Holding your brother's hand and keeping step to heaven's song. Holding my brother's hand and keeping step to heaven's song can be difficult to do, right? But it is harder even indeed to wander off alone and miserable down a road that leads to nothing and has no purpose. God gave his teacher to replace the one you made, not to conflict with it. And what he would replace, he has been replaced. Time lasted but an instant in your mind. I like this little section because this is where he explains that, like, the beginning and the end. When he says the Alpha and the Omega, like, it has already happened. It has already occurred. And the moment that you thought, the thought that made us maybe separate from God, that gave us this idea that we were separate from God, the moment we had that thought, the second, it was already done. He's already fixed it. He's already solved the problem. The solution to the problem was there before the problem even existed. God gave his teacher to... time lasted but an instant in your mind and with no effect upon eternity. Had no effect on eternity. It's just in the mind. And so is all time past and everything exactly as it was before the way to nothingness was made. The tiny tick of time in which the first mistake was made and all of them within that one mistake held also the correction for that one. So in the first mistake, we held the correction, which is the answer to the mistake. And all of them that came within the first and any other problem that ever existed since the first one has already been corrected. And in that tiny instant, time was gone, for that was all there ever was. What God gave answer to is answered and is gone. To you who still believe you live in time and know not it is gone, the Holy Spirit still guides you through the infinitely small and senseless maze you still perceive in time, though it has long since gone. So he's saying that, like, while you continue to choose to play in this game, to play in this minefield, and to choose right versus left, or good versus bad, or light versus darkness, or whatever, while you continue to do it, that's fine. Do what you want. But the Holy Spirit's got your back, got your hand, and is going to take care of it all for you. And doesn't mind. If you want to play that game, problem solved. Don't worry about it. Play the game. Do it for as long as you want to. You get to perceive how long that takes. You get to perceive if it takes, I wrote down in my journal, this lifetime or these lifetimes. How many lifetimes has it taken? How many lifetimes has it taken us to get to this? Minimally 8 billion, because we know 8 billion lives are alive right now. So how many more existed before that? How many more do we not understand? How many more are out there in the universe that we have no idea or understanding about, right? It doesn't even matter. We're so infinitesimal when it comes to who we are in space and time that even one bit of time that we think is a long time is not an important part when it comes to eternity. So why would the Holy Spirit care that we wasted our time? The only person, just like the only person that requires forgiveness for healing is ourselves. The only person that considers our time wasted is ourselves. Because we're the only ones that even care about wasting time. You think you live in what is past. Each thing you look upon you saw but for an instant long ago, before its unreality gave way to truth. Not one illusion still remains unanswered in your mind. Uncertainty was brought to certainty so long ago that it is hard indeed to hold it to your heart, as if it were before you still passed. The tiny instant you would keep and make eternal passed away in heaven too soon for anything to notice it had come. Let me read that again. The tiny instant you would keep and make eternal, like turn it into hell. Like we're gonna make it so eternal. We're gonna make it a lifetime of fire and damnation. We're gonna turn our eternity into hell. It passed away in heaven too soon for anything to even notice it existed. Do you think God gives a crap about the devil? God doesn't even think about the devil. God never had to think about the devil because it was done before it was ever over with. We are the only ones that have the power to live in darkness, that have the power to live in our own hatred and our own boundaries and all of these things. I love that. The tiny instant you would keep and make eternal passed away in heaven too soon for anything to even notice it had come. Come on. I love it when the Course talks like that. It's like, snap that. What disappeared too quickly to affect the simple knowledge of the Son of God can hardly still be there. For you to choose to be your teacher. Only in the past, an ancient past, too short to make a world in an answer to creation, did this world appear to rise. So very long ago, for such a tiny interval of time, that not one note in heaven's song was missed. Heaven keeps playing. Heaven don't care. Heaven keeps playing its song. I love that because I always talk about the harmonic resonance, the tone of heaven, that's how we hear God. We get into the tone of God. God's tone never even missed a beat while we played in hell. Yet in each unforgiving act or thought, in every judgment, and in all belief in sin, is that one instant still called back, right? That's where we are in the transition. We're still called back to it. Just when I think I've finally aha'd myself to this moment in time where I understand that none of this shit matters, here I am back in the shit again, right? You keep an ancient memory before your eyes. Only thing we see, what we see with our eyes, is something that was created already in the past, that someone else told us what it was, and so therefore that's what it was, and they get to make the rules for what it was because they're in the past and they made the rules, and so they get to tell us what it is. That's what we see. You keep an ancient memory before your eyes, and he who lives in memories alone is unaware of where he is. So I don't even know where I am. Why? Because the history has told me that's a plant, and that person broke my heart, and that person is mean and they hurt me, and that's a table. And so the past and the rules about the past, like I'm supposed to do marriage this way, or I'm supposed to have kids this way, or whatever it is the past has told me is the truth about what I'm supposed to do. I'm living in what the past created instead of what's happening right this moment. Forgiveness is the great release from time. It is the key to learning that the past is over. This is where my post came from this morning. This is how I got to really beginning to understand that forgiveness is simply the release from time. It is learning that the past is over. I'm here. It doesn't make any difference what happened in the past. It doesn't make any difference what I dreamed about in the past for the future. It doesn't make any difference. The forgiveness is here to let go of what has passed. Madness speaks no more. There is no other teacher and no other way, for what has been undone no longer is. And who can stand upon a distant shore and dream himself across an ocean to a place and time that long since have been gone by? Like, I can't stand here and think about the dreams I once had because they're already gone. There's no way to even to dream about it that way, because once I've dreamed about it, it's already in the past. The only thing that ever existed is this moment right this second. How real a hindrance can this dream be to where he really is? For this is fact and does not change whatever dream he has. Yet can he still imagine he is elsewhere and in another time? In the extreme, he can delude himself that this is true and pass from mere imagining into belief and into madness, quite convinced that where he would prefer to be, he is. And that's what we're living in. That's the boundaries we're living in. We talked about it in the course the other day. It's like, I'm in a place I don't want to be. And rather than thinking about the fact that I'm not really in a place I don't want to be, unless I'm choosing to be in a place I don't want to be, then all I can feel is that I'm in hell in a place I don't want to be, and I put up the walls to block myself, to imprison myself into the place I don't want to be. Is this hindrance to the place whereon he stands? Is any echo from the past that he may hear a fact in what is there to hear where he is now? You get to make the decision where you are today. No one from the past gets to make the rules for where I am today and what I am today. No story that anyone tells about the past, no no historical anything. No one gets to tell the story about where I am today. The only person that gets to tell the story about where I am today is me. That's it. That's the only story that exists. And how can his own illusions about time and place affect a change in where he really is? The unforgiven is a voice that calls from out of a past forever gone by. And everything that points to it as real is but a wish that what is gone could be made real again and seen as here and now, in place of what is really now and here. Is this a hindrance to the truth the past is gone and cannot be returned to you? And do you want that fearful instant kept, when heaven seemed to disappear and God was feared and made a symbol of your hate? Forget the time of terror that has been so long ago corrected and undone. Just forget it. Just forget it. It doesn't matter. It's gone. It's already over with. Can sin withstand the will of God? Of course sin cannot withstand the will of God. Can it be up to you to see the past and put it in the present? It cannot be up to me to see the past and put it in the present. You cannot go back. And everything that points the way in the direction of the past but sets you on a mission whose accomplishment can only be unreal. Such is the justice your all-loving Father has ensured must come to you, and from your unfairness to yourself has he protected you. You cannot lose your way because there is no way but his, and nowhere can you go except to him. So losing your way is an illusion. And when you're ready to know where you already are there. Let the dead and gone be peacefully forgotten. This is huge to me. Let the dead and gone be peacefully forgotten. Resurrection has come to take its place, and now you are part of resurrection, not of death. The past is gone. The people that have died, the death that has come, the stories that have come, they are all dead and gone. We are now in the rebirth. We are now in the resurrection. No past illusions have the power to keep you in a place of death. A vault God's Son entered in instant, to be instantly restored unto his Father's perfect love. And how can he be kept in chains long since removed and gone forever from his mind? So the only chains that wrap us to the past are our own unforgiveness. And when we forgive, we see miracles and we let go. But it has nothing to do with anybody else. It has only to do with ourselves. But when we understand everything that has to do with ourselves has to do with everybody else, then we begin to understand who we are and how we can make the changes, and that we can use all of the learning devices, including the Holy Spirit, including the body, including time, to benefit us rather than to be used against us the way the ego likes to use things against us. There's a few more chapters there, but I'm ready to move on to the lesson. And so just go ahead and finish those chapters off whenever you get a chance. And here's the thing, you're probably not in the same place in the book that I am. And that's fine. You don't have to be. Don't worry about it. That's not what this is about. This is about us interacting and have experiences together and talking things out. I'm talking about the exact same things in every group I talk to. And most of those people are not studying A Course in Miracles. So this is just A Course in Miracles. It's not a book called A Course in Miracles. So, okay. 76, lesson 76. I am under no laws but God's. I loved this. This really has spoken to me today. I am under no laws but God. And based on what we just talked about, I am under no past rules from God. But God's. I'm under nothing else except what God has put on me. And what God has put on me is to be in God's will. That's what God's put on me. And what does that mean? It means love. It means light. It means heal. It means offer what you're seeing. Share what you're witnessing. Show me to the world. Not by saying, this is who I am and this is what you should be paying attention to. Not by that. By just being who you are in love. And when you be who you are in love, you are showing me. That's the only law that God has asked of us, right? The only law is all of these things are already gone. Where you are today in this moment is all that ever existed. The present moment is the law. This, right? So none of this other crap, all these other rules, you can live outside them. And I want to go over to where it says, or actually gives the directions, because there's a big nice chunk where it talks about what does that mean. There are no laws except the laws of God. This needs repeating over and over until you realize it applies to everything that you have made in opposition of God's will. Your magic has no meaning. What it is meant to save does not exist. Only what it is meant to hide will save you. So like the money you think is going to solve your problems, the followers on whatever, and I was listing them this morning as I was thinking about that, all the things that are going to solve my problem. It even goes into it talks about the pill you take. Oh yeah, this. Think of the freedom in the recognition that you are not bound by all the strange and twisted laws you have set up to save you. You really think that you would starve unless you have stacks of green paper strips and piles of metal discs. You really think a small round pellet or small fluid pushed into your veins through a sharpened needle will ward off disease and death. You really think you are alone unless another body is with you, right? Without these things, we believe we are sick, we are alone, we are going to starve, we are worthless. Without the money, we are worthless. That's a big one for me, right? Oh, if I don't make money today, then it must mean this thing. No, the only meaning that is created there is mine. I have the ability to create the meaning for whatever that means. And so I am under no laws but God's. And then it says, today in the longer practice periods, that's like our 10 to 15 minute meditation periods, with a short review of the different kinds of laws. So it's like going through those ideas, the religions, the rules our parents made, the laws of government, all of that crap, and just realizing that we're not living under those laws. We're living in society. We're not living under the laws. We're only living under the laws of God. There are no laws but God's. Dismiss all foolish, magical beliefs today and hold your mind in silent readiness to hear the voice that speaks the truth to you. You will be listening to one who says there is no loss under the laws of God. Payment is neither given nor received. Exchange cannot be made. There are no substitutes, and nothing is replaced by something else. God's laws forever give and never take. Hear him who tells you this, and realize how foolish are the laws you thought upheld the world you thought you saw. Then listen further. He will tell you more about the love your Father has for you, about the endless joy he offers you, about his yearning for his only Son, created as his channel for creation, denied to him by his belief in hell. Let us today open God's channels to him, and let his will extend through us to him. Thus is creation endlessly increased. His voice will speak of this to us, as well as the joys of heaven, which his laws keep limitless forever. We will repeat today's idea until we have listened and understood there are no laws but God's. Then we tell ourselves as a dedication with which the practice period concludes, I am under no laws but God's. We will repeat this dedication as often as possible today, at least 4 or 5 times an hour. This is the prayer without ceasing. I am under no laws but God's. Anytime anytime temptation is set to experience ourselves as subject to other laws throughout the day, it is our statement of freedom from all danger and all tyranny. It is our acknowledgement that God is our Father and that his Son is saved. There are no laws but God. There are no laws but God's. I am under no law but God. And that's what I've been repeating to myself. I'm under no law but God. There's a thing happening with people here at the farm, and they're concerned about mosquitoes. And I should have told them that I'm under no laws but God's. I am here offering my love, and that's it. And the moment that you shift your mind to that space of love, that altar of love that's inside you, and offer only what God has asked you to offer. The reality is God has not asked you to offer any of those other things. God has only asked you to offer love. When you offer love, it shifts. Then how they handle their agreement with their laws has to do with them. It has nothing to do with you. And so that was a huge part of today's lesson today. And I don't want to do the super drawn out meditation this time, or the 5-minute meditation this time, like we've done in the last couple of weeks, because we did a quick breathing exercise at the beginning of that. But everywhere I'm going, I'm having these same types of conversations with people. And what that tells me is that, number one, I'm witnessing what I'm giving. But what it also tells me is that there's definitely something beautiful and loving occurring in this world right now, right when we think. And last night I was telling somebody again this concept of the non-player characters, and when you're looking to the world at who to interact with, who to work with as your audience for whatever content creation you're doing, or who to work with people you work with in your job, or how to choose somebody to date, or how to choose somebody to take a job with, or how to hire somebody, or how to fire somebody, or all of these kinds of things. It's as I express myself, I understand that there are people whose arms are wide open to receive, or whose arms are outstretched to come over that bridge. They are ready, and they're ready to grab your hands. And then there are those people that are just locked up in their own weeds. They're wrapped up in their own discontent. They're wrapped up in their own sadness. They're wrapped up in their own fears, their own pains. But there's a spark of light inside that altar that is all, it's there for everyone, but there's a spark of light that's just getting a little bit brighter. And all you're doing with your sharing, your witnessing, your healing, all you're doing, you're not going after them. All you're doing is planting seeds of love, planting seeds of God, planting what you can heal. For me, I'm planting seeds of the idea that you can heal yourself. And I've got some opportunities that I can offer you, right? And then you have the people who hate you and who have turned their back to you. And in your world, those people are what we would consider non-player characters. It doesn't mean they have no value. It doesn't mean that we hate them, or that we're leaving them out, or they're being left behind. All it means is they're not in our sphere. They're not a part of what God put there for us to be a part of. And so when we go after the people that are in that non-player character realm, we don't pay attention to what's actually occurring around us, which means we're not actually paying attention to ourselves. And we're not looking inside ourselves, because what we're expressing, what we're giving in our own healing, in our own journey, and whatever we're giving out in the world is what we're going to be receiving back. So that we're going to find that in places where other people are locked up, when we look at that, ask ourselves, how are we locked up like they are? Because there's something about us that is locked up the way they are. If we can see someone that's locked up, right? And the rest of it is outside of our purview. It's like being a player in a game. And there are these people that just walk by, and they're not a part of the game you're playing. And then there are people that jump out, and they're a part of the game you're playing. And those are the people that you interact with. How do we react to the different players in the game? We react and handle the people that jump out. We don't worry about the people that are just passing us by. I'm not saying, again, I want to be very clear. I'm not saying that there's people out there in the world that are passing by that don't have their own realm of people to deal with and to work with and to talk to and to plant seeds for. They do. They all do, because everything is connected. There's no disconnect. The whole world is one. We're all, not just the whole world, the whole universe, the whole everything is all one. It's all interconnected. What is needed is there for every single person that exists. And so that's how we can begin to gear ourselves for how we process the people around us, how we deal with the healing that we're looking for in ourselves, and how do we live in it but not of it. Because in it but not of it means I know that this is here, but I also know that this is here. And so how do I bridge the gap? How do I manage the transition? And it's been really good to have this chapter of the book to think about that, especially this time where I'm in it clearly in a recovery and healing and learning what my purpose is, what my function is for God's will in this current era of my life. And so it's been really nice to be able to share that opportunity with you guys here. Okay, because of wanting to share with you about some of the healing practices that I'm doing, I want to always remind you that Monday mornings at the farm, we're doing garden healing. So there were some people out, some moms out this morning and some little kiddos. The mosquitoes were not that much fun, so they didn't stay a super long time. But the garden is open for healing on Mondays. And then in addition to that, I'm going to be hosting a class on Tuesday, May 30th that is about actual diet and diet healing and food healing. And I want to share with you what I've learned about that. I've had a completely flip of everything in my life in the recent past, and I want to help you. So if I can help you out with a specific coaching session right there for you, if you can want to come to the class, I have lots of things available to help out with everything that I've learned and to share with you everything that I've learned. And I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share this with you as well. If you're following me here on YouTube, please make a comment. If you're catching this replay on Facebook, please make a comment. That way I know who all came out. I appreciate when you guys do that. I can see that people make comments even in the replay sections. And that lets me know that you're here and you're glad to be a part of this. I know you are, but that just gives me a little bit of, oh, yay, they're here and I love to see them. And please invite a friend. If you think there's any friends that would be interested in being a part of this group and joining us here live, invite a friend. And you're welcome, Jeffrey. I'm glad you were here with me today. It's always nice to have people in here live with me. And then if you're here on YouTube with me, be sure to subscribe, like, rate, review, do all those things, because that helps more people know that we exist. I hope you have the best day ever. I love you all very much. And I will see you all the next time I'm floating around on the online stream. See ya. Bye.